Have you ever encountered a ghost? What was it like, and do you really believe it was a ghost? I encountered something last night. The power went out in the whole neighborhood, and I didn't have any candles, so I went and bought some. Came back to see 6 spoons aligned perfectly on the kitchen counter. I freaked out because no one was home, and I had locked all the windows and doors before leaving. I didn't really give any thoughts to it because I went and checked the whole house to see if anyone was there, but nope. So I just put the spoons back where they were and read some books. Then I went to sleep around 11:30 when my parents come home, and I kept on having this really weird feeling. I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. I was sweating. Then at one point I felt something, and I slightly opened my eyes, and I saw this small, chubby figure sitting on top of my bed and had its 2 hands around my neck and was choking me. I gasped for air, and I was almost paralyzed. I tried my hardest to close my eyes and scream, but I couldn't hear myself. I tried again, and this time it worked, and I screamed so loud that my mom rushed in my room all worried, and I explained to her what happened. She just told me not to think about it and to try to go to sleep again, and I did, but kept on waking up in the middle of the night for no reason. The next morning we had our power back, and my parents said that for some reason they couldn't fall asleep either.
Kind of long, but my experience requires some backstory. Ambulance company I used to work for had a haunted ambulance, Rig 12. A lot of EMTs had their own stories about it, mostly involving weird noises coming from the patient compartment or the electronics going haywire. But I never put much stock in paranormal stuff. My personal experience was when my partner and I were in Rig 12 and posted in a rural community at 3 a.m., so it was pitch dark and dead quiet. We were both dozing up in the cab. I was in the driver's seat and she was in the passenger seat. I woke up to a muffled voice and initially thought my partner was trying to talk to me. I told her I was trying to sleep and rolled over toward the window and closed my eyes again. Then I distinctly heard a male voice say, "Oh my God, am I dying?" Followed by what sounded like heavy breathing for a couple seconds, then complete silence. My partner and I both sat straight up and looked back into the patient compartment where it sounded like it came from. It was quiet for a couple seconds. Then we heard the click of an oxygen bottle regulator and hissing like it was leaking. I turned on the compartment lights, and we both piled out of the rig. Initially, I thought a transient may have climbed in the back while we were asleep and was messing with stuff, so we walked around to the back of the rig and opened up the back doors. No one was back there. I checked both oxygen bottles. Neither were opened. Needless to say, we kept the lights on in the rig and didn't sleep much after that. I don't know if I believe in hauntings, but I guess it would make sense for an ambulance to be haunted. Rig 12 had been in service with various agencies for over a decade and had probably seen its fair share of patients die in the back. I rode in it a couple shifts after that, but nothing else strange happened that I recall.
I used to work at a radio station in southern New Mexico that was allegedly haunted. I was skeptical, to say the least. It was in an old building that was once a house, and the owner of the house made gravestones in the basement. Apparently he died while making one. When his unfinished product was still in the basement, reports of suspiciously haunted activity were high, but the stone was removed before I arrived there. I worked the night shift and was often alone in the building. I never actually saw anything, but I did have some weird experiences. For example, I'd sometimes go out into the offices and turn off all the lights to save electricity. A half hour or an hour later, I'd go back out for whatever reason and find all the lights back on. Occasionally, equipment would seemingly work on its own. I remember looking straight at a CD player that opened up and closed without anyone around. A large reel of tape fell off a machine and rolled across the floor. And when I went to look at the machine, it was off. The weirdest thing was the door to the basement. It was in the break room, and you had to walk past it to get to the snack machines. 9 times out of 10 it was normal, but there were times when I'd walk past the door to the basement where the guy died, and the hair would stand up on my arms. I'd feel inexplicably terrified, and every instinct told me to turn around and go back to my studio, which I did. Not saying I believe in ghosts, but that was some weird shit.